Welcome to Audiobook 365 Story.
The train was moving fast through Texas. Outside the window, there were flat green fields, small houses, and cactus plants. The train seemed to make the land move toward the east. A man and a woman got on the train in San Antonio. They were newly married. The man's face was red from the sun, and he wore new black clothes. His big hands rested on his knees, and he looked around shyly. The woman wore a blue dress with shiny buttons. She often looked at her puffy sleeves, which made her feel awkward. She was not very young or pretty, but she looked happy. They were excited. "Ever been in a fancy train before?" the man asked. "No," she said, smiling. "It's so nice." The man told her they could eat in the dining car. "They serve the best food for $1, he said proudly. $1? That's a lot, she said. Not this time, he said. We will enjoy everything. The man explained the train. Texas is so big, this train only stops 4 times as it crosses the state. He showed her the beautiful decorations inside the train. There were shiny brass, silver, and dark wood. The seats were covered in soft green velvet. Everything looked amazing to them. They were happy to be together. The man felt proud of his wife and their new life. But some passengers looked at them and smiled in a rude way. The train porter, a black man, treated them kindly but with a bit of teasing. The couple did not notice and stayed cheerful. "We will reach Yellow Sky at 3:42, the man said with a smile. "Oh, really?" she asked, pretending to be surprised. She checked her silver watch, which the man had bought for her in San Antonio. "It's 12:17 now," she said. Later, they went to eat in the dining car. The waiters in white suits watched them with interest. Their waiter was kind and helped them through the meal. After eating, they felt relieved to return to their seats. The train moved closer to Yellow Sky. The man, Jack Potter, started to look nervous. He was the town marshal of Yellow Sky. Everyone in the town knew and respected him, but he had married the woman in secret without telling anyone in Yellow Sky. He worried about what people would think. Would they be upset? Would they laugh? Jack looked out the window. He thought about the town's brass band. If people knew about his new wife, they might meet him at the train station with music and cheering. He laughed nervously at the idea. "I'll hurry straight to our house," he thought. "Once we're inside, I can tell everyone later." The bride noticed he looked worried. "What's wrong, Jack?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. "I'm just thinking about Yellow Sky." She blushed and smiled, understanding his worry. The couple felt nervous as the train got closer to Yellow Sky. Jack laughed nervously, and the bride's face stayed red. "We're almost there," he said. The porter came to clean Jack's clothes with a brush. Jack gave him a coin, copying what he had seen others do. The train began to slow down. Jack told his wife, "Come on, girl," as they got ready to leave. They laughed awkwardly as they stepped onto the platform. Jack held her arm tightly, and they quickly walked away from the train station. Behind them, the porter chuckled. Meanwhile, in Yellow Sky, 6 men were in the Weary Gentleman Saloon. The bar was quiet, except for a man called the drummer who told funny stories. Across the street, The hot sun burned the sand, and green grass looked unreal, like fake grass on a stage. The town was sleepy. Suddenly, a young man ran into the saloon. "Scratchy Wilson is drunk, and he's ready to shoot," he shouted. The two Mexican men in the saloon quietly left through the back door. The drummer, confused, said, "What's the big deal? Let's have a drink." But the other men looked serious. The bartender locked the door and closed the shutters, making the saloon dark like a church. The drummer asked, "What's going on? Is there going to be a gunfight?" "Maybe," one man replied. "Scratchy always shoots when he's drunk." Another man added, "If anyone goes outside, they'll find a fight waiting." The drummer, now worried, asked, "Who is Scratchy Wilson? Will he kill someone?" The men answered, "He's looking for trouble. We don't mess with him." The drummer kept asking questions. "What do you do when this happens?" One man started to explain, "Usually Jack Potter." But the others interrupted, "Jack Potter is in San Antonio." The drummer asked, "Who is Jack Potter?" "He's the town marshal," they replied. "He usually fights Scratchy when he causes trouble." The drummer wiped his face nervously. "That's not a job I'd want," he said. The saloon went quiet as everyone waited. The bartender quietly took out a rifle from under the bar. One man poured himself a drink, and everyone kept listening for sounds from the street. The drummer stayed close to the wall, watching the door, afraid of what might happen next. The bartender told the drummer, "You better hide behind the bar." The drummer, sweating, said, "No thanks. I want to stay near the back door." The bartender waved him to sit on a box behind the bar. The drummer obeyed and felt safer, seeing metal parts that looked like armor. The bartender sat next to him and whispered, "Scratchy Wilson is great with a gun. When he's drunk, we all hide. When he's sober, he's nice and won't hurt anyone. But drunk? He's dangerous." "I wish Jack Potter was here," the bartender added. "He once shot Scratchy in the leg and could stop him now." Suddenly, they heard a gunshot and loud yelling outside. The men in the saloon got tense. "He's coming," someone said. Scratchy Wilson walked into the main street of Yellow Sky. He wore a bright red shirt and fancy boots. He held a gun in each hand, yelling loudly as he walked. His face was red with anger, and his eyes searched for anyone who wanted to fight. But the street was empty. No one came out. Scratchy saw the bartender's dog sleeping outside the saloon. He aimed his gun at the dog, who woke up, growled, and ran away. Scratchy fired shots near the dog, scaring it until it ran off in terror. Scratchy laughed loudly. He walked to the closed saloon door and banged on it with his gun. "Give me a drink," he shouted, but no one answered. He picked up a piece of paper, nailed it to the door with his knife, and stepped back. He spun around quickly and shot at the paper, missing by just a little. Angry at himself, he walked away and shot at the windows of a friend's house for fun. Scratchy then remembered Jack Potter, the town marshal. He decided to go to Jack's house and challenge him to a fight. Singing loudly, he marched to the house. When he got there, the house was quiet and still, like the rest of the town. Scratchy yelled for Jack to come out and fight. He shouted insults and fired his guns, but there was no answer. The house stayed silent, and no one appeared. Scratchy grew more and more angry, yelling and firing his guns at nothing. He looked like a wild man fighting an empty house. The quiet town gave him no one to fight, and he was left alone in his rage. Potter and his bride walked quickly and nervously. Sometimes they laughed quietly, feeling shy. "Almost there, dear," Potter said softly. As they turned the corner, they suddenly saw a man loading bullets into a big gun. The man was Scratchy Wilson. He dropped one gun, but quickly pulled out another and pointed it at Potter's chest. There was silence. Potter froze, dropping his bag. His bride turned pale and stared at Scratchy like she was looking at something scary. Scratchy smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "You tried to sneak up on me, didn't you, Jack Potter? Don't move or reach for a gun, or I'll shoot." Scratchy's voice was angry and sharp. Potter looked at him and said, "I don't have a gun, Scratchy. Honest, I don't." Potter stood still, trying to stay calm, but in his mind, he thought of the fancy train ride he and his wife had just taken. Scratchy got even angrier. "Don't lie to me. You always have a gun. No man in Texas has ever seen you without one," he yelled, waving his gun at Potter's chest. Potter didn't move. "I'm not lying, Scratchy. I don't have a gun. If you want to shoot me, go ahead. You'll never get another chance like this." Scratchy started to calm down, but he still sneered. "Why don't you have a gun? Been to Sunday school or something?" "I don't have a gun because I just came back from San Antonio with my wife." "I'm married," Potter said firmly. "Married?" Scratchy repeated, looking confused. For the first time, he noticed the scared woman holding Potter's arm. "Is this the lady?" he asked, his voice softer. "Yes, this is my wife," Potter said. There was a long silence. Then Scratchy said slowly, "I guess it's all over now?" "It's over if you say so, Scratchy." "You know I didn't start this," Potter replied. Scratchy sighed and looked at the ground. "Yeah, it's off," he said. "Married." He seemed lost and unsure what to do. He put his guns back in their holsters and walked away, leaving footprints in the sand.